What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F122, my team career mode for Season 1, Round number 3, the Australian Grand Prix. We're finally here. The issues of my game crashing on PS4 are still happening, but I've actually realised that you can do a mid-session save in this game, something I didn't know you could do. So it just means that, like with this race, it crashed halfway through, but we managed to save it. So basically, the only issue with that is that I will not have replays for the first half of this race. I think it's lap 15 we will start getting replays, but for the first half of this race, unfortunately, there will be no replays because it crashed before that point, and although you can carry on with the race, the replays are lost from when it crashed. So anyway, we're going to upgrade a few things. Pit equipment is one thing we're going to upgrade, because in the last two races we've had two terrible pit stops, even though we've had optimal turn-ins. So hopefully, I mean, this upgrade isn't going to come in for this race. It should come in, I think, for Imola next time out. But we're upgrading that as quickly as we can, because it's been an issue for sure. Definitely losing out big time in these pit stops. We also do a drift event this time for our Pirelli Hot Lap event, and I'll be honest, this was kind of awful. It was a little bit of fun, I guess, but drifting's never really been my thing. I actually had to do this on my controller because trying to do this on my wheel was near impossible. I don't drift, I never drift, it's not really my thing, and doing it on a wheel especially is pretty much impossible for me. So I did it on a controller. It was much easier on a controller, but still not really my sort of thing. So we get bronze, but only just. And yeah, I mean, we'll probably mess around with it in the future, but I think I'll stick with the average speed ones and things like that. Looking at R&D, we have been overtaken by Aston Martin this race, although we are pretty much right on top of them in R&D, so it's pretty close. I think we'll still kind of be in a similar sort of place, and I can feel that I am getting better with this car, with the handling on this game, and we don't make it through Q1, we don't make it to Q2 in Australia here, but we do a pretty decent job. So this is my lap here, of course. This is the newly kind of layout, the new layout of Albert Park, Melbourne, Australia. As we head through this section here, instead of, usually you come around here, take a right turn, and then at the end of here you do a brake and a right before you come up onto this kind of long, very fast section. We don't have that bit anymore. It's all one big flowing section, and I like that more for sure. I struggled with that corner that they've taken out a lot on F1 2021, so I'm glad that has changed this year. And it actually, the fast left right at the end of that kind of straight, but not really straight, struggled with that massively. Lost a hell of a lot of time to the AI in the previous game. On this game though, even though that corner is still there, and we're actually taking it at more speed because we don't have the slower corner coming onto that straight, that corner actually I seem a lot better with in this game compared to the AI. I'm pretty much there with them, so I don't know if it's just that these cars, you take a bit less speed with these cars, so it's just easier to get it right. I don't know what it is. But anyway, we end up P17. I think we're about 2/10 or a tenth off getting into Q2, so it's a decent enough, I think it's a decent enough showing from us here. Liam Lawson in P19, so let's see what we can do in the race.
It's race day here in Melbourne as we continue with what could shape up to be one of the best Australian Grand Prix ever. Here we are then at the Albert Park circuit, 3.28 miles of bumpy city streets, but not a lot in the way of elevation changes. The circuit goes all the way around the lake, taking in 14 corners. Note the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13. They'll offer our drivers a number of good opportunities to overtake. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Perez, George Russell and Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Ocon, Gasly and Mick Schumacher, Norris, Magnussen, Sebastian Vettel and Tsunoda, Hamilton, they've taken a grid penalty, Stroll, Shaw and Daniel Ricciardo, Liam Lawson, Joe, Albon and Nicholas Latifi. And now it's time to head down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Alright, so onto the formation lap for the Australian Grand Prix in Season 1. Starting P17, we've got two potentially quick cars in front and behind us. We've got Lance Stroll in front, Daniel Ricciardo behind, both on the soft tyres where we're starting on the mediums. Most other people on this race are also starting on the mediums. I think when I look down the order, the only other driver starting on the soft is actually Charles Leclerc, who's on pole position. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there, whether they can make a one-stop work, because I think everybody else here is doing a one-stop, or can they go soft to hard potentially? Don't really know. But anyway, to 5 red lights. Like I said, we unfortunately don't have replays for the first half of this race, but we're going to go with it anyway as we get underway in Australia. It's a decent start for us, but like I said, the cars around us are going to be quicker because they're on the soft tyres. Daniel Ricciardo getting a good start, getting past us in to turn 1. Lance Stroll also had a really good start, but got caught out by, I think, Yuki Tsunoda up ahead, just had nowhere to go. As the cars are all battling up ahead and we're just staying behind, keeping a good enough distance. I think that's a bit of a lock-up from Daniel Ricciardo up ahead. A bit of carbon fibre goes flying, and that's the virtual safety car is out on the first lap. So I think this is the first time we've had any sort of safety car in this game so far, and it's the virtual safety car on the first lap in the first sector of the Australian Grand Prix. Not sure if that was for Ricciardo or there was some other cars there having an issue, but as the lights go green again, we make a massive dive on Ricciardo, on Hamilton, and also on Stroll. We're still battling Stroll through the corner, but we just about managed to get the move stuck. So that was just timing the restart to perfection there, as now we've got Tsunoda, but there's a couple of cars ahead. That's Sebastian Vettel, and I'm not sure who the other one is. That's another car. Is that Kevin Magnussen also in the pits? So that actually puts us up to P11. And as Hamilton goes for a bit of a dive into one of these last few corners, we've got an ERS fault. Our engineer says that it's been fixed, but it hasn't actually been fixed yet. For some reason, there's a glitch with this game at the moment where he says it's fixed straight away, even though it's not. You can see the DRS deployment on the bottom there is not available, as Hamilton, we kind of let him go past because he has DRS on us, and we don't have ERS to fight it, and we shouldn't really be battling with the Mercedes anyway, so we let him go. We're down now into P12, but yeah, ERS issue, it's our first issue of this career mode, I think, but thankfully it only lasts a couple of laps. Lap number 4, we've got it back again, but now there's yellow flags up ahead. Hamilton's managing to get away from us a little bit, but something's gone on up ahead here, and as we round this corner, Sergio Perez there on the right, he is out of the session, and that is one of the big teams, one of the big drivers in the big teams already out, and it's the first big team, big driver retirement of this career mode series. Sergio Perez out in this race. As Hamilton now battling with Tsunoda, he's trying to make his way through the grid. We actually get a better run off the corner than Tsunoda does, but we just have nowhere to go. Tsunoda does not give us the room, and I mean, he doesn't have the right to. We weren't alongside him, so that's not great for us there, but now we're stuck behind Tsunoda. And Tsunoda does seem quite slow here, and I'm having a look, and I'm having a dive up the inside after this DRS zone, and we get the move done. Like I said, Tsunoda just seeming quite slow at the moment, which is weird because he should be... That AlphaTauri is a decent amount quicker than our car, so yeah, don't know what's going on with Tsunoda. He will keep us honest though, but up ahead there's yellow flags once again. I think there's somebody else off the track here, and as we look on the left, it's Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. He's also out of this race with a mechanical DNF, a mechanical failure, and that is big for... It's big for Red Bull and big for Ferrari, both the two top teams losing one of their drivers each. It's Charles Leclerc and it's Sergio Perez, so that only leaves Sainz and Verstappen left in this race from those two teams. So we're going to have another car that's not a Mercedes or a Red Bull on the podium as we come in for our pit stop here, and it's actually a good pit stop. It's a 2.5 second pit stop we finally have out of... You know, it's our third pit stop in this game, and we finally have one without an issue. It's a good pit stop for us. And we continue on now the set of hard tyres, which will take us to the end of the race. And as we come down the pit straight here again, Yuki Tsunoda, who was just behind us before the pit stop phase, we come out just ahead of him again here, and we managed to pull a bit of a gap to him because he's going to take a while to warm his tyres up. Now lap 15, we now have replays, so that's good. Things get a little bit more exciting here, not just looking at my POV. And Lewis Hamilton trying to make his way back up the order. He's going for a move on one of the Haas's, I believe. This is Mick Schumacher in the Haas, doing a decent job, but Hamilton trying to spoil the fun here. But Schumacher not giving up too easily here, putting up a great fight with the Mercedes. Let's remember that Haas is not a bad car. It's well in the midfield this season. They've already scored some points. Mick's actually the only one that's scored points so far. Kevin not had a good first couple of rounds. He DNF'd in Bahrain and didn't score any points in Saudi, as Hamilton managed to get him coming onto the front straight. But Mick is coming back again, and now you've got, I think that's Esteban Ocon in the background sniffing around too, but Hamilton manages to get the move done. And Mick Schumacher will now have to look behind him at the Alpine. As we continue on here, lap number 17, and we're just having a look. We've actually got a bit of a in the bottom right there, the kind of orange icon for engine wear, because I think it's our MGU-H is rather worn. It's over 60%. We're going to have to change that for next season. I mean, 16 races this season, and already 3 races in, parts are starting to get rather worn, so we're going to have to focus on durability a bit more, I think, this season, because otherwise we're just going to be taking way too many grid penalties and, yeah, risking parts blowing up. As up the order, we actually have a look at Fernando Alonso, who's currently sitting in P3, so with only the two, one Ferrari, one Red Bull in this race, these two here, Alonso's actually in 3rd place ahead of George Russell, so that's a battle to be interested in. And Carlos Sainz is currently leading the way. He started 3rd on the grid behind Verstappen and Leclerc. With Leclerc being out, Sainz has managed to, get an overcut or an undercut on Verstappen in the pit stop phase, and he currently leads the way. Once again here, he's won both races so far this season, Carlos Sainz, and he's looking to make that another race win this time out, so that's definitely a battle to be interested in. As lap 23, the sky is starting to look a little bit glum now. There is rain forecast towards the end of this race, only a little bit, and it's right at the end, so we might not see the rain, but it is definitely coming. You can just tell it's got so much darker here, so it's going to be interesting to see if that plays into this race at all. As we continue on the battle for 3rd place, the two guys up ahead are way up in front, but Fernando Alonso is trying to defend for his life to keep this podium position. He wants to be the 3rd team to get on the podium. Of course, Red Bull and Ferrari, the only teams to get on the podium so far this season. Alpine want to be the next team on the podium, but George Russell wants that to be Mercedes, and he's giving him a real fight here. That Mercedes is a slightly quicker car than the Alpine, although the Alpine is no slouch either, and Alonso doing a great job here, but Russell just has a bit more pace, and he's going to go round the outside of this next corner. That then gives him the inside for the next one, and he gets a great little move done, and it puts George Russell up into P3. He's going for his first Mercedes podium, and, well, his 2nd podium of all time. But then lap number 25, the safety car is deployed, the full course safety car. What has happened here? I don't know what has happened. Something crazy's happened here, and it's actually Kevin Magnussen who is out of the session. He is not having a good start to this season at all. As we look at a replay here, he just gets it caught up, turn 1, spins around into the wall, doesn't actually break his wheels or anything or his suspension, but he's broken his front wing, and that was enough apparently for him to retire from the session. Just put the power down a bit too much, got caught up on the curb and goes into the wall. I don't really know why he couldn't carry on there, but he doesn't. Safety car is deployed, and it's going to be a final couple of laps of sprint race to the end. I mean, we've got a sprint race next time out in Imola, but it's going to be 2 laps of sprinting as we go on to lap 28 here for the final couple of laps of this Australian Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz leads the way, and Max Verstappen behind him, but you've got Nicholas Latifi and I think my teammate actually just behind them. Those guys are getting lapped, so it's going to be a little bit chaotic here as we're trying to make our way through. We've got Mick Schumacher up ahead. We have to slam on the brakes because Latifi is in the way here, trying to let cars go past slowly, and we're going to be almost 3 wide as we come around here, but we made the opportunity. We made it work. We got past Mick Schumacher when he was caught up behind Latifi, and that's now put us up into P8. So we are now well into the points. I think we were P9 before, and I mean, you know, take in consideration we are this high up because we've had Leclerc, we've had Perez, and we've had Magnussen all drop out of the points, and then we've had a few other cars, like I don't know exactly who, but we've had a few other cars who should be higher up come into the pits for damage. So that's got us now up into P9. But as we go to end the second to last lap 28 here, Carlos Sainz still leads the way from Max Verstappen. You've still got George Russell there in third place, but into one of these final corners, Carlos Sainz locks up into the corner, goes wide, and that lets Max Verstappen come through and take the lead of the Australian Grand Prix as they go on to the final lap. Just looking here, Sainz's right front tyre locks up, his right front wheel locks up, just goes wide, and Verstappen just says thank you very much, I will take that position, and he's now up into the lead of the race. Hasn't really been leading the race at all this whole race, but now he leads. We also go on to the final lap here just behind me. Mick Schumacher gets it pretty caught out over the curb in the final corner and is now under attack from Yuki Tsunoda. Schumacher just trying to hold on to a decent points finish here. He's in P9 at the moment. Getting overtaken by Tsunoda will put him into P10, but for now he's managed to keep that position and he wants those 2 points in the championship. But we are still here in P8. We've got not a whole massive margin to Schumacher and Tsunoda behind, but it's a decent margin because those guys have been fighting each other. We're not catching Ocon and Hamilton up ahead, but we don't really expect to. As you can see, the rain is just starting to fall now. There are a few little drips on the visor, on the camera. Give it a couple more laps and I think the rain would really start, but it's not going to be able to get started. But as we come around the final corners here, Max Verstappen wins the Australian Grand Prix. He's the second winner of this My Team series. He knocks Carlos Sainz off his top spot and we finish in P8 to claim our first points in this My Team Career Mode series. We had decent pace here in Australia and we were helped out massively by 3 cars who should have been finishing ahead of us, having issues DNFing out of this session. It puts us P8, that's 4 points for our championship.
Red Bull pulling out all the stops today. What a great win. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team strategies. They got all those things right today and the results speak for themselves.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everybody at the team.
So Max Verstappen wins the Australian Grand Prix. It's his first win of the season. He has stopped the 2-race winning streak of Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz, though, still comes home in second, so it's a good result from him. And if it wasn't for that lockup, he was looking to win this one once again. And of course, with both these guys' teammates out of the race, that's a big point swing for them in the championship. And George Russell comes home for his first podium at Mercedes and Mercedes' first podium of this season. So that's big for them. We come home in P8 for our first points in this My Team Career Series. So that is very good for us. 4 points on the board. We showed pretty good pace today and it just all worked out for us in the end with the safety car, with all the issues that everybody else was having. 3 DNFs in this race, Perez, Leclerc and Magnussen, all drivers who should have started ahead of us. Of course, you also had like Vettel and people like that in cars that we will be kind of, at the moment fighting within the championship with Aston Martin. They came in on lap 1 because of damage, so that helped us out as well. In the championship, Verstappen is now in second place behind Sainz, but Sainz still has a comfortable enough lead at the front there. We are now in P12 thanks to those 4 points. Liam Lawson, our teammate, has dropped down a little bit to like P18. But then in the Constructors' Championship, Mazda Speed Racing moves up to P8 in the championship. Aston Martin and Williams now the only 2 teams to not score points, but we also move ahead of Williams. Williams are now on 3 points, we are on 4 points, and also Alfa Romeo move up to 5th, overtaking AlphaTauri. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.